So my name's Natasha Lameko, and I am the product of a New Zealand-born Samoan and a Tongan-born Tongan. My dad was raised in New Zealand, like I said. His parents came to New Zealand many, many years ago, and never taught him the language, so I don't really speak Samoan, which is a bit sad. But my mum, very strong Tongan woman from the village of Malapo. She's been here since she was 14, so a long time, and she was away from the island for many years, 40 years, and I'm a primary school teacher. Yeah.
It's like you memorised your... Talofa, my name is Abinadi Vincent Whataiai Lameko. I hail from Mangere, born here in New Zealand, and my dad's from Uta, my mum's from Whangaloa, and yeah, my great-grandparents are from Sava'i. So really proud of my heritage, just that Kiwi-born Samoan, trying to navigate your way in New Zealand but being Samoan as well. But I supervise there and look after all missionaries that come through for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And yeah, love my work and love serving God.
Okay, so we've been married for coming up to 22 years now. We've got 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls, and the ages start 20, 18, 16, 14 and 12. That was so planned on purpose, wasn't it? But we've been married that long, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about our marriage.
It's been good.
Oh yeah, that too. It's good, yeah.
Healthy. I define healthy relationship as 2 people that understand each other and maybe uphold values and have boundaries. That's healthy, right?
Yeah, just to add to that, I agree with that too, and just maybe add that they make each other better. They don't destroy other relationships around them. So maybe the parent-child relationship or even sibling-to-sibling relationship, that they actually, they make themselves better. By being with each other, they make themselves better. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah,
I guess for us, when we were first dating, I kind of like made a promise to not kind of have an unhealthy relationship, if that makes sense. I was always trying to be the most respectful kind of person to date, and because I only heard about all that. Nah, I was just kidding. But that was me. That was my little promise I made to myself to try and be a respectful.
He was super respectful to the point where, you could be walking down Queen Street. We were walking down Queen Street together on our first date, I think it was, and like 4 people could walk between us because he was keeping the distance. Healthy, but and then when we were even in the movie theater to sit down together, the seats are quite close, but he sort of like
I wasn't sure whether to sit next to her or sit. Yeah.
Respectful. Overboard respectful.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I got it hard.
I know for me it was married. My parents, 2 totally different backgrounds. Like I said, my dad's a New Zealand-born Samoan and my mum's from Tonga. My dad caught eyes with her when he was like 16. He went away and served a mission for the church, and when he came back, she was all he could think about. And then obviously they're still together, and I watched the way that they even serve in the church together, the way that they for example, my sister, when she was newlywed, she moved overseas with her husband, and was about to have a new baby. So mum went. I've never seen my dad look so sad in my entire life. And I just thought, oh God, please mum, come home and save my father. But it was that whole idea of that they love each other so much that they want to be around each other and uplift each other and stuff. And so I feel like that's sort of the way we are as well. We've always in the church served together, and when it's responsibility of somebody else to do something, that we always take it that it's our responsibility and not just that. So I really feel like the healthy relationship side of things was mirrored by my parents. I don't know. Yeah.
Mine was from TikTok. Nah, there's no TikTok, but mine was church. Church had standards, and part of the standards was no sex before marriage, respectful relationships. They had the standard, and we did our best to just follow those standards. And yeah, I guess growing up, some made it, like some did good and some didn't. But at the same time, the church provides a way to, like repentance. But yeah, mine was mainly church. Mum and dad was straight from Samoa, so they didn't talk about anything like that, relationships. Yeah.
Honestly, mine didn't come from I think I joked before we started that my mum literally had a conversation with me the night before I got married. And I was just like, this is the most awkward conversation. I was 21 at the time. And so I was like, why am I having this conversation? I know this stuff. And that's because I knew from school. And I remember my very first sex education class being in primary school. And it was my friend sitting next to me trying to put a condom on a banana. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And that was sort of my first experience towards anything that of a sexual nature, if that makes sense. I know my parents maybe tried to have those conversations, but never went into detail. It was just, you don't have sex. No whys, or maybe whys, but it was just don't, And then obviously when they could see that we were starting to want to have relationships and stuff, still no conversation about why it was how to keep yourself safe or stuff like that. It wasn't, so I don't really remember a talk from my parents, to be fair.
I'm still waiting for the talk.
Oh my gosh.
But guess it was church, and like Tash, we had sex education, intermediate, college, and I think that's when it got confusing, like some of the things taught at school contradicted some of the things that was taught at church. So it was just, I guess, if you don't have healthy relationships in the church, you don't know who to ask at church as well. So it ends up becoming your mates. And so, yeah, I think that was it really. But I think I was lucky I went on my mission, and I did a 2-year mission, and all of that kind of stuff I got to learn more, more kind of healthy, more kind of respectful and healthy relationships. Instead of that, I'm not sure what the other side is, but.
Definitely puberty conversations I remember having those conversations with my mum around the time when I was due to get my period, obviously. And I remember still not really knowing what that was. But then I still clearly remember we were at a church thing, and it was the first time, and I was wearing, of course, white shorts, and I was freaking out. And I turned around and I said to Mum, this has happened. And then Mum goes, oh, Dad's going to take you. And I was like, Dad's going to take me? And that was just like a weird situation for me, that Dad was going to take me to sort myself out. Now, the reason is because Dad could drive and Mum couldn't. But looking back at that time, I was like, I don't understand why Dad's taking me. It should be you. But then, obviously, being older now, I understand that. So for me, it meant with my own girls, I wanted them to have that same. I didn't want them to have that same feeling of freaking out and not having the support they needed. And so I tried to start that conversation a lot earlier with them. So puberty, definitely, like physical changes, yeah, I remember getting all that. I'm not sure if they really helped me to understand what I was going through if I had like a heartbreak of some kind, or if I was feeling like this, I don't understand why my emotions are all like one way or another. I don't remember that too much. Definitely preparing me physically though, if that makes sense, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, same as my parents, old school, so I went to the school of hard knocks, but I do remember the emotions that I felt growing up, whether it was good or not so good. I do remember a lot of emotions playing league. I remember missing a tackle, and that try was the winning try of the championship, and not sleeping for days. I still remember that. But those are emotions you just, I don't know, all through the years I still have these emotions of anything. But just I've always learned about the 3 words that I always say to myself, and that's like, it'll pass. Whatever emotions that come, it'll pass. And always has with kind of help with the Lord. The first thing I thought of was it was everyone around me. That's what I first saw. Like I saw people going out, see people making out, rolling out, eating out. Sorry. But nah, that was the first thing, was just seeing everyone around me at school, even at church, people dating. That's that's how you kind of pick up on, holding hands, kissy here. There. But that was the first thing, and then there's TV, but then the mates is alright. Mates is like the good, the bad, and the ugly, when you're with your mates, because you're not sure what you're gonna get when you're talking to your mates, whether it's gonna be G-rated. I don't know, it was just there, it was more observation. That was the thing growing up. Sex education was more the hard stuff, like Tash, like the apple and all that stuff.
The what?
I don't know.
What apple?
I'm not gonna say that. But all that stuff, that was what you learned there, and that you could do things, and it was okay. It was okay to, do things. But church was contradicting that. Was doing nothing.
What did you mean by that?
It was either do it or not do it, and I just didn't do it. Just like all of my mates were having girlfriends and stuff, and I just made this. It's weird, but it was almost. Nah, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't want to have a girlfriend because I didn't want to be locked in a relationship. I wanted to freely hold hands with anyone I want. They come out alright?
Yep, they came out totally.
But I ended up holding hands with no one. Just gotta save myself right there in there. No.
Yeah, I'd agree with the whole peer pressure thing. But even as thinking about, like standards of the church, this is obviously, they've made adjustments since, but standards of the church where they said you don't date till you're 16. And so I remember thinking, I'm waiting till I'm 16, and then when I'm 16, I'm going to start dating. So, but then the problem was you go 15 and you go, oh, let's try. Do you know what I mean? So I remember hearing those things, but also like what he said, people around you, your friends, they're getting in relationships and they're normalizing it. And I'm talking about like, oh, this is my boyfriend. Well, he just asked me out yesterday. Do you know anything about him? No, I don't know anything about him. And that was kind of normal. Like before, obviously, everybody had like social media and everything else. Like I remember when I've got a younger sister who's in her 20s. I remember walking in one night to her room as a newly married woman, and she's on the phone talking to her boyfriend on FaceTime. And I was like, what the heck is this? Like, we're on a phone. And even on a phone, you would be like maybe an hour tops before your mum's telling you get off the phone because she needs to use it. Do you know, like the whole dynamic was different. And it just felt like because your friends were doing it, you wanted to do it too. And I don't know if that was the right thing to do and the right way to navigate that as well. Because I know that I made choices that I'm not really proud of as a teenager. I made choices out of peer pressure as opposed to this is what I really wanted for my life or what I really wanted to do. And so I guess when Abinadi came around and like that whole ultra respect thing was really different. And it was someone different for me that I was like, oh, hang on, this is somebody I kind of want to get to know a little bit better. And he was quite caring as well as flippant. And what I mean by that, he'd be giving me flowers, but if I couldn't meet up with him, he wouldn't be like, oh, please. He'd just be like, okay. And I'd be like, hey, what? Okay, sad, but all right. But do you know what I mean? And it just made me think, okay, this is something I want to explore. So it made me see things a little bit differently from what I had experienced in my past, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, calm down.
Before the mission, I used to see you around all the time. But you're talking about emotions. It's funny because I used to have a crush on Tash as a teenager, but I had a crush on other girls too. So just helping the youth today understand about crushes and those things will pass, right? And sometimes people get caught up on a crush and then that becomes, a relationship. Even if it's one that they don't need to be in or dangerous in, but the crush is taking them there. So, but she was the biggest crush. But when when I used to see Tash at like the dances, she'd always be holding hands with someone and cuddling them. so so that's another lesson is like wait, I think it's because like I didn't care who she dated. I was just happy to date her. But I thought that was really nice, eh? That kind of.
Okay, moving on. Yes.
Name them all, but not tonight. Just
I think because we didn't get, like, well, he says he still hasn't got the talk, but the fact that I didn't really get what I thought I needed to prepare me, obviously, even for a marriage relationship, sexual marriage relationship, I wanted to make sure that my kids were fully able to have those conversations with me about puberty, about relationships, about how they feel about things and all that kind of stuff. And I think what helped us when our kids were really young, my husband was called as the bishop of our ward, and watching youth that we loved going through navigating those challenges and realising no one was being brave enough to just tell them, this is what's going on with you, and speaking to them straight, both like with doctrines of the church and principles and stuff, but also just telling them, hey, you're feeling this because of this, like what he said, it's just a crush, you'll get over it, like trust me, this is not it for you, that kind of stuff. Helping them to navigate that meant for us that we wanted to be able to have those conversations with our kids. Now, we haven't had the perfect conversations, but I do know that we're very straight up with our children.
For us, we've been really lucky. When we got married and I was bishop, we ran a workshop and then it kind of went off from there. Like other churches, wards, was asking us to come and run a workshop. And then for me, like my own experience growing up, in terms of people around me were always straight up, no mucking around. And so I was always straight up with everything I did or say. So that what helped with the topics. So when I was bishop, I looked after the young men, the guys, and it was easy because, once you have a good relationship with them and have a laugh, and then you go, oh, how's school? And, hey, you got a crush. And we just hang out. And then all of a sudden they started opening up. So that's when things kind of really opened up for us in terms of really getting into the minds and hearts of our youth. So, we did one recently in January for 600 youth, 1,200 youth over 2 weeks. And we love talking about chastity. That's we're the chastity couple. We just straight up. And just on the side note, when we do have workshops, not many leaders will talk about chastity. And it's going back to that, how hard it is to talk about those things that are quite, tender or maybe, important to them.
I know not everybody likes maybe our style when it comes to that, because we try to make it a little bit light because we want them to open up and talk about it. Because I think if you make it too heavy and too serious, then it becomes real, becomes real awkward, and they kind of shut down as well. So I know that, like what I was talking about, there was something he mentioned before. Oh man, it's got out of my head.
Well, I try to keep it light and funny but serious. So so we do a few, I do a few analogies and help them understand it through those things, and then they get it, they get it.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we want to be the ones to talk to them about it, because like what I mentioned before is, your school gives you one message that this is okay, church gives you one message that this is not okay, and most of our youth are somewhere in between. They're experiencing what they're not supposed to be doing, but at the same time they want to be in church and feel all these things, and they're confused. And so I think that's the reason why we wanted to be straight enough with them, so that they can feel like, oh, look, I can talk to them if I need to, I can say these things, and it's an okay space, which is what we wanted for our own children. So that, like, I still remember having a conversation with our son when he had his heart broken, first time ever, but wasn't the first girl. And I just remember everything just coming out. And it was the first time I didn't feel like lost for words, because I knew what to say to him. I knew that helping him feel okay about telling me everything bad that he'd done. He told me lots, and I just sat there going, oh my gosh, I want to kill this child, but at the same time, I love you. It was cool to be able to just let him, for 10 minutes straight, just unload on everything that he was feeling. And for him to know that it was okay for him to feel like that. Because we were at a family dinner with other family, like it was a special occasion. It wasn't just like us where I could have just kept him away. And he knew that he wasn't being in the right frame of mind and all that. And I think that's why we want them to know that they can navigate it and it's okay. And they can ask the questions, I guess, yeah.
Listen is the biggest. Eh? Listen to understand, because they're going through something that we have maybe no idea about. So it's just maybe letting them know that we're there for them, that we love them. Yeah, and then whatever experience we have, and help them understand. Otherwise, listen's the big one. I think they lack people listening to them.
I think for me, I was thinking about how, like when we got called to do the FSY camps, which are for the youth, and I started thinking about what I wanted the young woman to know, and I thought about my experience as a young woman, and it went back to that conversation we had previously about self-worth, about when you really understand who you are, even if it's not on a spiritual level, but I'm a daughter of someone who loves me or something like that, or I'm a granddaughter of someone, like you're a product of so many generations of love, whatever it is that you draw on. I think it helps you to make better choices for yourself and to make you realise that you don't have to go one way or the other. You can be like, exactly like, don't go this way, don't go that way, just navigate it your own way, and that's okay. And then it goes back to what my husband was saying about listening. I do feel like sometimes as parents, we tend to talk at our children and not actually take an opportunity to sit back and listen. Like, I'm guilty of it myself. I'll talk at them and say, you'll do this, this and this and this, and not listen. But the moments where I know I've really connected and helped them to navigate that weird space of in between is when I've actually sat back, or we've both sat back and gone, okay, just talk. And it might sound like absolute rubbish, but for them it's their truth. And that's what I think, going back to that whole knowing who you are and having a sense of I'm better than this, so I'm worth so much more than what's happening in this moment, I think is really cool. Hey.
Be safe to our youth. Talk to people that care for them. Think about the future when they make a decision. It's a hard one for our youth, we're in a different era, and they have so many people that teaches them now in terms of all the social media networks, and if your parents are not there, the leaders are not really connecting, they're turning towards one, and then all the peers are doing what they want as well. I could see how my heart goes out to the youth that are, trying to be like trying to be fit in, I guess, trying to fit in, but be strong, I mean, be yourself. For me, I just wish they could just be healthy until marriage, then you can give all your love to the person, whoever it is, because of the dangers that come before that. But that's only mine, based on what I've learned in church and with God, but it could be different to other people, but I guess safe is the word, and healthy. But yeah, that's for our youth.
I was even thinking just along the lines of find an older mentor, someone that you can talk to, that you can, it could be a school teacher, it could be somebody from your own church, but there's still I truly believe that the Lord puts people in our path to help us, and there will be someone who is that person for you. Like, I was scared about saying find the person that will help you, because sometimes they find the wrong person that they help them, you know what I mean? So I was thinking that sometimes there are people that have experienced it or have gone through it. I think that sometimes too, what's the danger of social media is when you chuck your life out on there and you tell everybody I'm going through this, but you only give them that context and they don't see the wider context of what's going on. And then they give you all this advice and you think, oh yes, I'm going to take that, but they're not necessarily looking out for the best interests, or they don't know the full picture. I would love for it to be their parents, if it was their parents. And I know for my daughters, I'd love them to come to me, just like I love that my sons go to my husband. But I do believe there's somebody out there that has your back 100%. And if you find that person, and I'm not talking about a husband or a wife, I'm talking about like a person that's out of that I just really feel like that will help them as well. Because I think about my husband growing up, one of the things we've talked about over the years is when he was in youth that he always had a person, like, and obviously he's lost one of them recently, passed away, but I noticed that he had someone who had his back, who was always in his corner, even when his parents couldn't 100% be, like, they love him, but couldn't 100% be there in terms of everything he needed. And so he had that in other people. Would you agree with me with that? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we like our children, like, you know, we have our children that navigating as well. You know, and they're probably not sharing to us as well. Like, we're not perfect parents. So it's just, everyone's learning, parents are learning. So I guess the advice to parents would be to break the cycle, just step out of the culture that we've all had for decades. You know, if we're going back to my days, still waiting. Break the cycle, because if we're not teaching our kids, then the world will teach them. You know, so we're not sure what the world has in store. So and honestly, it'll be awkward for the first few times, but then it'll start getting better. It'll get better. And so we really urge our parents, even in on a church setting, it's always a minority of parents that have spoken to their parents. So we always do like a survey, and probably
we've done a survey.
Probably 90% of the parents don't talk to their kids, or we ask the kids, they don't talk.
You ask the kids and the kids go no, and you ask the parents, yes, they talk to me, and you're like, I don't know who's telling the truth here.
But you can just the minority that really open with their kids. But I guess we got hopefully we get there one step at a time with our youth, and hopefully it's not too late as well.
I also think you pick your moments. Like I said, sometimes they want to talk to you and you're busy doing something. It's just, sometimes that's the moment. Because if you tell them come back later, that moment's gone. And I love that my girls, if I jump in the car to go somewhere and they come with me, I know it's because they want to tell me something. And it's not because they don't want dad to know. They just want to have mum time. Do you know what I mean? They want to talk to me. And so I think about that as parents, look for the moments that you can have those conversations with them, the one-on-ones. Like I said, we've got 5, and trying to give each of them that time that they deserve is really hard at times. But I do know when I do give it to them, that's the times that I can hit, like he can usually it starts with one girl, and then the other one jumps in, and then the little one tries to sneak in and she gets told to kick out. She's only like 12 and they don't really want her listening. But it's that whole thing, like just being open to the moments. And like even if you don't know, who cares? Let them talk. Like, we're not supposed to know everything. I don't think we're supposed to. Like, my daughters will say something like, I've never heard of that before in my life. And then they're like, don't go looking up. And I'm like, is it because you're not supposed to be looking at this? Do you know what I mean? But I think it's just, that's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah. We're lucky, like in the church setting, we grew up with the same issues, but we didn't know how to do the repentance thing. Remember? So today that's the goal, is to help our kids, because even if they do make a mistake, there's a way to be okay. Like, there's always the hope that they'll be okay. So so sometimes back in our times, if we did a mistake, game over, see you later, mate. But now we understand better. So for us, we really try and help our youth understand that things like repentance is there for them every day, even if they make a mistake. So that's the good thing, is that there's always hope if they do make a mistake. But before that, we try and help them stay safe.
Yeah. I would also say one thing to monitor their social media stuff. Now, I'm not talking about preying on it, because our girls have got the one that they share with us, and then they've got their private one. that they think I don't know about, but I do. But what I'm saying is that because that's still dangerous. Like I said, I'm a primary school teacher, and I hear kids use phrases that I know are straight from TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. Like I know just from what they've said, and I'm thinking, oh, are you being monitored? Like, don't be scared to say no to your kids as well. I think sometimes we get scared of that word because we don't want them to hate us, and we don't want them. But in reality, we're trying to protect them as well, because I know that we've been guilty of that as well, of just allowing things and then afterwards having to pick up the pieces, and it's been hard. When if I just said no at the beginning, then maybe we wouldn't have been in this situation. Do you know what I mean? I think that's really important too. Like, don't be scared to set those boundaries for your children, because I do believe that our job as parents is to protect them as best we can until they're adults, and then they can go on and hopefully have learned something and do better than what we've done. Hey.
Yeah.